Blick. Streckt der Arsch zum Fenster los, vom Mund ist weg. Es ist schon weg, es ist schon weg, es ist der Arsch vom Blick.
Villingen, a city in southwest Germany, is located on an ancient Roman trade route on the edge of the Black Forest. The carnival customs here date as far back as the 15th century. Handed down from father to son for generations now, the carnival tradition has evolved into a finely wrought work of art. Street festivals in Villingen are organized according to highly specific rules that seem immutable at first sight.
I've been celebrating Carnival for what seems like ages. When you're growing up here, you never question it. You take part in it, whether or not you want to. They put you in the baby buggy and push you in the procession. I've always worn the costume without really thinking about it as a child, and later out of conviction and enthusiasm, and have a good time.
Menschen fragen nach Heil und Sinn, finden Antworten mit Leben.
This one goes there too. Wait. Can you put the paper on top? Thank you. Careful, don't pull the head off.
Come, let's dust these off. Look, there's still some dirt. There you go. Can you give it to Grandma? She'll hang it up.
Hello, my little sweetie. So you're dusting them off with Grandpa?
Grandma.
Hat rummlet au und blaset, was macht au so ein Krach?
Komm, sing mit.
In Ellene, Gässle und Straße, der fast nicht Gost ist schwach.
On Epiphany, the fools take to the streets to celebrate the opening of the carnival season. Until Mardi Gras, the city is humming with all the preparatory meetings and festivals. To mark the beginning of Carnival, the Narrow decorate the fountain that is dedicated to them. Winter temperatures can easily plummet to minus 20 degrees in this region, and Carnival offers the inhabitants of Villingen a fifth season, transforming winter, when people tend to withdraw and stay inside, into a vast, invigorating and warm collective event.
The main character of the Carnival is the Narrow, the Fool. He wears a hand-carved limewood mask called G.E.I.E. in Villingen. His collar is made to look like the exaggerated collar of an aristocrat. He also has a foxtail symbolizing the freedom of the fools, and he wears scarves. These are all attributes of nobility. For the finishing touch, the Narrow puts on black gloves, so his skin is no longer visible, and he can remain completely anonymous. Thus concealed, he can make fun of everyone around him, teasing them about every kind of minor happening in the year, always with humor.
In the Middle Ages, Carnival was a way for people to let off steam. Shielded by the anonymous nature of disguise, the fools could tell the plain truth to the clergy and notables. Vestiges of this tradition can be found in humorous exchanges when those in disguise lampoon the people they encounter in the streets.
From a very early age, I dreamed of having my own costume, and I've made this dream come true. A friend painted my costume. I had a manufacturer make the bells. I bought my mask from someone because I didn't have enough money to have one made for me. It costs around 5,000 euros for a complete costume with all the accessories. We always end up buying these because we really want to have them. Of course I should have saved up to buy the costume. In fact, I spent all my savings, money from Christmas, my birthdays, my confirmation, part of the money from my communion.
Today, handing down the tradition is much more than a family affair. Carnival attracts a great many people, and those organizing the historical celebration had to find ways to accommodate people who flock here from other places.
We want people to respect the tradition via what we hand down to them. We organize introductory evenings in costume for beginners and newcomers. Our goal is to have people dress up as the Narrow, based on our advice.
Okay, so now you tie a knot and pull hard.
But you can't see anything.
We'll take it off after. Now pull hard.
The Narrow is a Baroque figure, a well-proportioned, harmonious character. It's important to wear a coat that's as long as possible and that the pants are big enough so that people don't look ridiculous in the costume.
I've always loved Carnival. In the past, I paraded in Villingen, playing with my village band on Mardi Gras Day. I absolutely loved it, but one day I wondered what it would be like to wear the Narrow costume. I've always been fascinated by the Narrow because he's such a proud person, so prestigious. You have to be a bit crazy when you're from somewhere else and you want to parade wearing the Narrow costume in Villingen. It was only a vague idea at first, but it began to grow steadily.
If possible, the tail should be a red fox's tail. There are no grey foxes in the Black Forest. If you have one from an old grey fox at home, no problem. But if you buy a new one, please choose a red one.
It was an indescribable feeling, quite extraordinary. When I heard the Narrow walking for the first time, just before the start of the parade, chills went up and down my spine, and then it began. I was totally revved up. It felt so great.
Here, Carnival is called Fastnet, the night before Lent. At the time, this street festival allowed you to go a bit wild before starting fasting before Easter.
September, Oktober, November und Dezember.
The Wurst is the fallen Narrow. They say that the farmers in the surrounding villages stuffed old costumes with straw and stole into the city disguised like this, only to be run out of town by slingshots. Today, the Wurst has a maximum of 50 members. One is born a Wurst, otherwise you await your turn.
To become a Wurst, you have to first register your name on a list with the father of the Wurst. It is up to each individual to determine whether or not they're fit enough to join the group. After 4 or 5 years, sometimes longer if the list is long, they can be called to join the Wurst. But there is no guarantee. A committee selects whom the Wurst invite. They decide.
Hello, everybody! Markus Hummel, you old scamp! Markus, they've chosen you this year, 2015. You can parade with us as our guest. What do you think?
Was hältst du da davon? Super, ha.
Markus, they're waiting for you to be introduced. Hurry up!
Ciao Markus, bis gleich, gib Gas.
I remember when I was 3 or 4, I always watched the Wurst. Their sizes, their old things. I couldn't believe that they had the right to participate in the carnival in that outfit, while I had to wear something so chic. The Wurst is crude. His silhouette and worn costume are really crude, maybe even a bit coarse. It's a real experience, embodying one and being funny. You really have a feeling of freedom. In short, I'm looking forward to the beginning of Carnival.
Look, there are the jobs that the Wurst don't like at all. I mean, not at all. Since you want to participate, we accept guests on the one condition that you work. And one of our favorite jobs is inflating pig bladders. And here they are.
Pig bladders are another vestige of a bygone era. The Wurst decorate their wooden boards with one or more dried and inflated bladders.
It is a fact. We have to paint this costume just as it was painted 2 centuries ago. For this, we use a model, a reference that was selected in the 1950s and used ever since. We are very proud that our suit has remained unchanged for over 200 years now. Before, everything was different. How you mixed the colours was kept secret, and we would never have talked about this with someone who came from somewhere else. The masters locked their doors when they were mixing their colours, but that era is over now, and that's good. Because by the late 1950s, we had lost the knack of colour tints. Today, we organise evenings, especially for costume painters. The costume used as a model is hung in the middle of the room, and each novice painter mixes colours until they are exactly like the model. On one hand, we do not want to appear to be guardians of the temple, but on the other hand, we don't want to be too lax and let the spirit of Carnival get diluted. This is why we have so clearly defined and agreed on the narrow costume and its features, so that it doesn't change. The narrow remains the narrow, and in 100 or 200 years, he will still look the same as it does today. And he will celebrate Carnival just as we have learned from our parents and our grandparents. Everything else can change, yet we'd like to keep the very core and spirit of Carnival just as it was and as it still is today. Tradition is like a lantern. The fool clings to it. The wise man uses it to light his way. I forget who said that, but I think it's very appropriate for Carnival.
With such strict regulations, a carnival as old as this one could have ended up relegated to a museum, rigid as a result of tradition inherited from ancestors. But in Villingen, the history of Carnival is constantly evolving. Over time, the festival has opened up to other groups, allowing everyone to celebrate Carnival in their own way.
When I first heard this music in 1989, I took my watch and counted the bars. And I thought, 60 bars a minute, even more. Wow, this is for me. I love playing music. It makes me so happy every time. It's what keeps me young. It requires a huge effort, of course. I leave the house at 4:30 p.m. and I'm not back until 11:30 at night. Even though there are only 2 hours of rehearsal, the rest of the time is spent getting there and waiting. I always say that the Carnival is serious business. Before, I used to write funny texts linked to the occasion. It was a lot of work. I invested just as much in the band rehearsals. People watching the parade can't imagine all the work that goes into it. It looks easy. We always play without the score, or we could not do the show on stage. This looks super easy, but we take rehearsals very, very seriously, or it wouldn't be worth the trouble.
I think the French coined the expression Black Forest because when they came here from the West, the first thing they saw was this black, very dense mass. The landscape is rugged here, with mountains, valleys and many forests. The proximity of the Black Forest has a big influence on us. The many traders and foreign armies passing through have shaped and moulded us. We are less open than the Rhinelanders. We are somewhat wary at first and stubborn, and little by little we let down our guard and are friendly.
It was precisely at the end of a war that another group filled the streets of Villingen, introducing a very different kind of carnival. As a result, the Narrow had to share the city with passionate musicians who made quite a racket.
The musical Cats uniform was designed around 1872 when soldiers returned from the Franco-Prussian War. They were relatively poor and couldn't afford to buy traditional costumes for Carnival. So they took their uniforms and painted over the motifs and took to the streets making a lot of noise. We call this music cat music because it sounded so much like the meowing of cats in heat skulking around the streets. Just a minute, please. Ah, you've brought the cat back.
Where do you want me to put it?
There, on the table, please. Well, he's back inside where it's warm.
Is that good?
Yeah, you can leave it there. How was it?
Well, those who saw it were amazed. They're all thrilled. I think it'll be a great event on Sunday.
That's what counts. I'm from Lyon, Villeurbanne to be exact. My grandmother was part of the resistance during World War II. She fought the German army, and if she could see her grandson parading down the street dressed like a policeman with a spiked helmet, I think it would have caused a bit of conflict. She never would have imagined her grandson would be having fun wearing a German uniform during Carnival. My father was a soldier too. He entered Germany in 1945. He met my mother here, in Villingen. But it didn't bother him that I celebrated Carnival in a German soldier costume. Quite the opposite. It made him laugh. Okay, all set.
The women also wanted to celebrate Carnival. It was about having a carnival of our own, to have the right to celebrate Carnival. At the time, it was not acceptable, as it is for women today. It was another era. A housewife had to stay home and tend the stove. The only right she had was to cook some flour soup for her husband as he was getting ready for Carnival. And then she stayed at home with the children. The hat is a very important accessory. That's a spinster's hat with feathers, peacock feathers, and flowers. The best part is that it has to match the dress. One very important thing for the dress, it has to be long. This hat would go well with this dress. If you come to the spinsters' party dressed like that, you'll have no trouble at all getting in. We'd be happy to welcome you. Some women say they feel like princesses. And women move in an entirely different way. They don't walk in a normal way. They walk very solemnly. This event is strictly for women. We are the spinsters, women only. Women traders founded the group in 1927. Back then it was mandatory that women in the group be Catholics and from Villingen. I was the first Protestant woman to be accepted by the spinsters. That was 26 years ago. There's something really special about being part of the spinsters. We do everything ourselves, behind the scenes, from the wardrobe to the texts. It's a lot of work, because over 400 women in all attend the 2 evenings. They come to laugh, play, have a good time. It's a huge responsibility and a lot of work for us. But I have to say that we get along really well. We start laughing every time we meet. We know how to work together, and being part of the Spinsters group is really great. Carnival is life. It's a feeling. It's simply love. Carnival is inside us. It's really in our blood.
My grandmother was incredibly strict. When I turned 15 on the Sunday of Carnival, she brought the costume into the living room and said, "Okay, Binny, now you have to make fun of me. If you can do it, you can go out in the costume tomorrow." I turned beet red, of course. I was young, and I had to mock her. I managed to mumble something, and then I had the right to put the costume on for the first time. So I had to wait until I was a certain age so that this very old costume would fit me and I could participate in Carnival. I was so excited. To lampoon someone is to mock them in a nice way. You can focus on little details of daily life, like, how did you brush your teeth? What did you do this morning? Does your wife snore? Etc. Little examples of daily life are perfect and can be used. That makes everyone laugh. I think that making fun of people is the essence of Carnival. It's the most important part, and that's why I participate in Carnival. When you like to tease other people, it's such a huge pleasure. Almost hard to describe. Gives me chills. You talk with a person, you mock them, you make them laugh, and you end up laughing together. We do this also for ourselves because it makes us happy, and there's nothing more powerful. For me, this is the most beautiful thing. It's really the essence of Carnival. Yes, that's better. That mask is good.
So, also, zuhebeln, jetzt kommen Narro. Ja.
At one time in Villingen, mocking people was not really popular. Some young people thought it was more important to party. As a result, fathers and sons no longer came together to Carnival, and the handing down of the tradition gradually faded. Lombert and I developed this course to revive it. And there are always a lot of people. It's always a lot of fun for us.
When I teased someone for the first time, I was still a little shy. But the more you practice, the easier it gets. I don't know how other young people feel, but for me, ensuring that the tradition lasts is really important. Also, for the next generation. I'm not very old, but I think the traditions should be preserved and passed down as they are. Otherwise, they're lost, and that would really be a shame.
Geselle auf mich, oder was?
Wusch, 2, 3, 4, wusch, 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 2, 3, 4. Säpple mit der Giege, Säpple mit dem Bass. Säpple die Dose, Kiste, Eimer ich denn das. Säpple mit der Giege, Säpple mit dem Bass.
Und so hab ich ihre Trommel ganz simpel präpariert, dass dir, wenn sie draufhaut, einfach explodiert. Ich bin der Fastnet-Hasser, hasse Fastnet, Fastnet hasse ich. Wenn du mich stellst, sag ich dir, spring ich dir ins Gesicht. Ich bin der Fastnet-Hasser, also komm mit mir nicht hinein. Wird's mir zu blöd, fällt mir für dich was ganz besonders ein.
Wow! Hau den ganzen Schwanz ab! Hau nur den ganz ab! Lass er noch ein Stumpel Staub! Das ist kaum, Fasse kaum! Miau!
Every year, the call for the carnival takes place at one of the gates of the city. Our group arrives first. It makes a lot of noise. They can't see us, but they can hear us. Afterwards, the gate is opened and the so-called seeds of carnival are allowed to come in. These are children 3 or 4 years old, with a drum strapped to their bellies, and they have a lot of fun beating the drums. For me, this is one of the greatest joys. I wouldn't miss Carnival Sunday for anything in the world.
Möchte den Fastnet-Sonntag.
Fabien, are you the one taking the vehicle out?
In der unteren Stadt, in der oberen Stadt, dort und die pure Dresche. Müllers Markt, jetzt Hepperbrennt, jetzt haben wir's nicht mehr Wäsche. Ich glaub, die schlafen alle noch. Komm mal mal rein. Jetzt müssen wir ein gleich machen.
I have to duck down a bit. People were much smaller in the past.
So, for breakfast we have flour soup or tripe soup. So, what do we start with? Who wants what? Tripe? Flour soup? You want tripe soup?
No, I'll just have a roll.
Monday, before the parade, the marchers gather to share the traditional flour soup, a hearty recipe unlike any other that slows digestion. Those in costumes can therefore avoid the complicated process of undressing throughout the day. The bravest traditionalists eat tripe soup at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, super, Mensch, war das gut, du. Mal wieder Strecke, du. Also, guten Morgen.
We want the costumes to be worn in the right way. On Monday morning, before the parade, we go to where the fools gather and watch those who are participating in the parade to see whether we need to help them fix their costumes. After that, we stand in a side street, Bear Street. It's calmer. And from there, we see all the fools parading, and we can watch them one by one in case we don't like something.
Marie!
Morgen!
Add a little behind. It has to be flat. If it forms a ducktail, that's exactly what you want.
As soon as you put on the costume, you begin to feel like the character you're playing, and I like that. I'm convinced that you're not the same person when you put on the costume. I'm someone who needs people around me. Being part of this group brings me a lot. I feel more relaxed. You can relish the freedom and you can, I'd say, let go completely.
It's Monday morning. We finished stuffing our costumes, and we're ready to go out into the streets. It's the best time of Carnival. This is how it all starts.
Also, Vorsicht, die wilde Fahrt geht los. So, komm nochmal ein wenig runter. So.
Dankeschön.
Mach's gut.
Ja.
Mardi Gras Monday and Tuesday are the pivotal moments of the festival. In good weather, several thousand Naro pour into the city streets.
For me, the best moment is the beginning of the procession. We enter the lower street. The Narrows' music resonates for the first time. Everywhere the Narrows are hopping about, the bells resound. It's a really, really special moment. It gives you goosebumps. Bouquets of straw have special meaning. When I see a friend whom I like, I offer a carnival bouquet, and when I put it up against her neck, it has to tickle her on the chest. That way, she'll always remember me. If she's still wearing it after half an hour, that means that she's taking my gift to heart, if you know what I mean.
Every year I say that this is the last year, but I already know that I will be participating next year, unless I have some health problem.
After the processions, the fools gather in pubs opened by private citizens for the occasion. These pop-up pubs exist only during Carnival. Some are reserved for those wearing historic costumes, others are open to one and all.
Okay, come on, kids. We've experienced some truly extraordinary days together. It's time to remove your straw, and when you're done, line up on both sides.